Welcome to this week's End of Days Update, coming to you from Tulsa, Oklahoma. And of course, we have the reason people want to see the End of Days Update. They've been asking about England. He hasn't been able to be here with us because we've been shooting over here at the warehouse. So he's here. He's excited about the coming of the Lord. He will probably give his announcements and bark a few times during it. So he said, tell everybody hi. Oh, is that right? Hi? He says he loves you guys. Well, we're coming to you every week to look at the different things that point to the coming of the Lord, and specifically the gathering of nations for the Ezekiel 38 war, because we always say it every week, rapture is signless. The second coming has tons of signs. We know the rapture takes place about 7 years before the second coming. I hear people say, what's going to start the tribulation? The tribulation doesn't start at the rapture. The tribulation starts when Israel signs an agreement with the Antichrist. And boy, we'll get into some things this week. Things have happened this week that are a complete undercurrent and undertow of things getting ready for the Antichrist to come on the scene. It's pretty remarkable to watch what was prophesied thousands of years ago and be living in it right in the middle. So we look at this because Paul talked about the baptism 12 times, coming of the Lord 52 times. For every one verse there is about the first coming of the Lord, 8 times more about the second coming. Why? He wanted us to know what it would look like just before he comes back, because the things that are happening in the earth will preach to us, even though there's no bad news for the Christian. I mean, it is persecution or whatever, but nothing like the tribulation. And if you hear end-time preaching that scares you, it's not Bible, it's to bring you joy. The whole thing about the signs of the coming of the Lord are to bring you great joy, and that produces great strength. With great strength, you can finish your race. If you don't have strength, you can't finish your race. And the Lord wants you to be happy. You know, hope deferred makes the heart sick. We have so much wonderful, amazing things coming so soon for us that we're about to see the King. How exciting. Soon and very soon, we're going to see the King. So let's pick up at what's happened around Israel this week. I mean, there's one thing after another that are blatant that show us. The same thing with Turkey and with Syria and what else is going on. So I like, first of all, America finally went ahead and said Israel can get $9 billion worth of aid for arms. And then those bunker buster bombs that were sent last week, looks like they're coming in right now. I like that America's finally releasing these things, especially when your neighbor, your friend, your buddy, your ally is in the middle of a war. You don't want to hold weapons back, and that's just exactly what we did the last few years. But we're there for them. I like the first leader of state that would come to America for our new president, Trump, would be Benjamin Netanyahu. So you have him there today, and wow, what an interesting conversations that went on. President Trump talked about America coming in and dwelling in Gaza, because Gaza is obliterated. And it's kind of funny, I heard the president say what I've told my buddies many times. I said, you know, the other nations in the Middle East, when they have beachfront property, they make a golf course, they make a resort. And what does Gaza do? What does Hamas do? They build underground tunnels and bombs. And he even said that you need a golf course there and a resort. So it's just so blown up. I like that the suggestions were for some Palestinians to go to Jordan, some go to Egypt, and none of those nations really wanted any of them. It shows you what their thought pattern is. So it's an intriguing that they say they have a right to the land when there is no such thing as Palestinian people. Yasser Arafat was told that by Bashar Assad. He said, these are not Palestinians. There's no such things as Palestinians. These are Greeks, they're Turks, and they're Arabs. So there's a lot heating up kind of under the scenes about Russia and about Turkey and about Iran. That's the things that we want to look at, because that's what comes down on Israel just after the rapture of the church, when you see those alliances that they've been making. But there's been one thing after another. The nuclear program with Iran, that came to the forefront this last week. You had things with Turkey coming to the forefront, how there was all these reports about it's not just the Kurds in the northern part of Syria, it's we want to come all the way down and take the Temple Mount from Jerusalem. I mean, that's radical. So what Israel's having to do, they have 6 sites they've built, or what you would call bases they built on the Golan Heights to be a buffer for Syria. And they're actually in the land of Syria. And they're there to stop all those weaponry that have been coming down. So it's one thing after another. You had the United States do another attack on ISIS. We've been targeting them, taking them out. We did another attack in Yemen on the Houthis. One thing America did that was pretty radical. This week they unveiled their new, their Naval Academy guys, unveiled this new laser weapon. It'll not only take out drones, it will take out ships. So I love that they keep touting that, along with last week Russia with Iran started touting their new droids that had long range and had missile capacity. So it's going back and forth. I mean, you got Taiwan basically having to get ready for China. China keeps trying to surround them again. You got Russia doing things with provocations, trying to come into airspace of other nations. So little things that are pointing to World War III. Why is that a big deal? Well, what'd you have happen in 1917 when Allenby came in and got Israel their land? World War I. Same thing with Israel right before Israel got their land back in 1948. You had World War II. Well, you are getting ready to have the church hand off to the Jews, and what's the thing getting ready to happen? World War III. So Lucifer tries to do all these things he can to stop these different moves of God, but he can't do it because the king is just about to come. And I didn't say it a while ago, but I meant to say it over and over again. All of this information about what's happening behind the scenes, the Lord wants us to get it because we're about to see him. He wants you blessed. He wants you happy. He loves you. He's not mad at you. He's not frustrated with you. He wants you happy. So tons of signs going back and forth in that whole region right now. Excuse me. But what we do is we go from the signs, we go to signals. The signals are a pretty big deal because they're blatant. I mean, I didn't get into it, but boy, the asteroids, there was a flare that came up over Philadelphia this last week. Almost every week we're watching debris from asteroids coming down, hitting on the Earth. You had them have to basically get out of Santorini because of earthquakes are happening. I mean, 40 some odd earthquakes are happening. They're concerned about a major one. Same thing with Los Angeles. I talked about it last week. They'd had like 900 like in 1 week. It was just crazy. But we go back to the word. What's the word say? The word says Israel was made a nation in 1948. Jerusalem won back in 67. Jesus said the generation that sees those two events won't pass away till all is fulfilled. But then, man, you got the Hebrew language restored. You got the Ethiopian Jews brought back. You got the fertility of the land of Israel. You got the revival of the Roman Empire. I mean, you got foxes showing up on the Temple Mount. You have fish in the Dead Sea. You had the Dead Sea turn blood red where Sodom and Gomorrah was. That's pretty radical. You had the ritual baths around the Temple Mount fill up with water. First time in 2,000 years. That's huge. You have the Temple Mount Institute that is ready to have sacrifices. They got their red heifers this last year. The ones that they could use weren't clipped because of COVID. Kind of amazing. They've already started to clip them again. So they have to be used between the year 2 and 3, and that's how old they are right now. They're kept over in Shiloh, right across the valley, the Kidron Valley right there. Along with the makeshift brand new Ark of the Covenant. So this is all happening right in front of our eyes. I mean, specifically the things that are, well, he lasted pretty much most of it, but you got men will be lovers themselves. You have selfie sticks. You have 172 different species of predatory birds. That's a huge deal that you would have the cleanup crew in Israel show up right at the beginning of the Ezekiel 38 war to clean the land up. And then at the Battle of Armageddon 7 years later, they show up again. So you've got nature in position, you got birds in position, fish in position, you have the Temple Mount Institute in position. So what's the church doing? I hear people in the church going, oh, it's not important to hear about the coming of the Lord. Really? So you're supposed to not know where the finish line is? No, all of this is for a hustle mentality and a pick up your pace mentality, not an escape theology. Man, we're about to see the author of life. Listen, every movie you see where God comes in at the end, or where Batman or Superman or one of the Avengers comes in to end the day, saves the day, that's what's getting ready to happen. It's a script that could only be written by our Father. His love for us, that his own son would have to die for us, but he would come back for us. So he's about to come back. So you have all these signs, and you got signals. You had blood red moons on Passover and Tabernacles a few years ago. Pretty radical to have 4 in a row. When's the last time you had 4 in a row on Passover and Tabernacles? 1967 when Jerusalem was won back. 1948 when Israel was made a nation. 1492 at the Edict of Expulsion when the Jews were kicked out of Spain. So you had Columbus raised up in 1492, sailed the ocean blue, founded America, safe harbor for the Jews. Then you go from that, you have signals. I mean, from that signals, those are blood red moons on those dates. It's pretty radical. But then you had the Bethlehem star, Jupiter planet, a king planet, Regulus, regal, king planet. Venus, men are from Mars, women from Venus. Those 3 came together at the birth of Jesus. What was the constellation? Virgo. He was born of a virgin. So this last year, you had the same thing happen again. The newspaper said, the news media said, we have a celestial event. What do we have? We have Jupiter, Regulus, Venus coming together. Wow. The Bethlehem Star, first time in 2,000 years. Go to the Bethlehem Star on YouTube and like us on YouTube and Instagram. I forget to say that. But go to YouTube and look at the Bethlehem Star bonus feature, 2 minutes long. It shows the Passion Lamb and the heart of the Lamb go black exactly at 3 o'clock in the afternoon on Passover, the day the Son of God died. the heart went black on that passion lamb. I mean, the flawlessness of God with that is absolutely the coolest thing there is. So he loves you. He redeemed you. Walk in your authority. Be bold. Be daring. Walk like you've never walked before. Look at the Son of God and say, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to walk like him so I can show forth the resurrection. He's about to come. We're going to see him face to face. Keep your relationship with him white and hot, fervent in spirit, always serving the Lord. Have a great week. We'll come back next week and see what else happened around Israel. One of these weeks we're going to come back and Damascus is going to be wiped off the map. So just everything is leading up to a crescendo, pointing to the coming of the Lord. It's great, wonderful, and exciting times. Have a blessed week. We'll see you next Wednesday.
Thanks for joining us today at the End of Days Update. If you'd like to be notified every time there's a new post, just go to the EDU at josephmorris.com and subscribe to receive email alerts. If these posts and updates have been a blessing to you, please consider making a one-time donation to help get the message out, or even becoming a monthly partner with Joseph Morris Ministries. Thanks again for tuning in to the EDU, and we'll see you next week.